Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to give an update of the old man path. We're going to inoculate it with some life, and we're going to talk about strategies, building your own strategy from a base of knowledge on how you're going to sheet mulch your properties. Stick around. Alright, welcome back, guys. We're going to do one final video on the Old Man Trail. We'll talk about different ways that you can sheet mulch, why I chose this way, and little things that I did to kind of optimize the process. And then we're also going to inoculate it with some worms. And then we'll kind of wrap this up, and we will come back at it probably next spring or so when we try to plant in it. Okay, so here's our bucket of Jerusalem artichokes that turned into worm castings. And we're going to use some of this in our Old Man Trail, our established food forest, and we're going to inoculate the area with worms. Now, I'm using these red wigglers because they're just native in my soil. I mean, that's why they're in the bin, because they kind of, a couple of them stowed away on some Jerusalem artichokes and then spent 12 months or so sitting in a bin of Jerusalem artichokes, and they ate them, multiplied, and turned the whole bin into worm castings. I'm going to inoculate this into my leaf pile, but they're already native in my soil. I mean, maybe they're not actually natives, but they're in my soil now all over the place. So what I suggest you do, instead of maybe going out and seeking and getting red wigglers, is maybe to take some native forest soil from anywhere that you can around you and just put a little bit in your leaf piles or sheet mulch bits so that you can kind of inoculate your local biome of insects, earthworms, nematodes, arthropods, into your actual soil. You kind of kick-starting the process by putting stuff that's natural and native into your soil. I want to save some of this juice for compost, which I'm going to do shortly after. This worm juice will be great inoculation medium for biochar. But for now, we're going to take this and add it in to the Old Man Trail. Alright, so here is the northern side of it. And we're going to put some worms in here. So it's not high tech. Just going to pull back. That's it. They'll kind of spread out and eat all these leaves. We'll add a couple little bits, maybe every little while. Put a little plug of them in. Help speed up the process. Plenty of food for them to eat. Alright, so now that that's done, let's go do a quick little tour, and because that's probably the most interesting spot or part of this, and we'll show you how I've kind of added things in. I've expanded this out so that this path kind of wraps a little more. I might get some more, build it up here, Wildflower Hill a little bit, wrap it around, put bushes that kind of contain Wildflower Hill in there. Or maybe I'll just let Wildflower Hill spread out and get really tall, and then I'll mow. Maybe we'll do that, because then you got this beautiful Wildflower Hill as the border of this part of the path that walks around. I think that's even better of an idea. Okay, and then this is the strip going right down the middle. This is where, if you saw my biochar video yesterday, well, I don't know when I'll publish this, but my first biochar video that I did maybe like within the last week or so, it was in this area. So this was all before I did the leaves. So we've made this really big, like really big, and then we've wrapped it right around. We extended from this tree out, we extended it right out to try to get as much of this sunny area as possible, and then I ran out of leaves. So this is all coming next. So I've often taken you guys down this walking way here. This is where the lower garden is, where I do most of my vegetables production. I'm moving that up the hill, turning this into perennials, tree-based, shrub-based system. So this is this area here. It's a decent sunspot, so I really want to pull this out. I'll probably put more leaf bags here, and then I'll pull some out here, but make sure that I have some pathways. So I might do a nice food forest section here. I think that would look really nice. Okay, and now looking down here, I widened all this so the path got narrower, but the food forest section got wider. And I put a nice little kink into it just to kind of cut, you know, we'll get some bushes growing here and there, trees, and it'll cut that vision line off. So you're not looking straight down the whole row. You get cut off by a bush that's, you know, right on the edge, coming out, falling over. And that really goes a long way to giving a nice aesthetic, I think. And then it also maximizes the whole edge effect. So we've widened all this down the side here. We've also selectively done unshredded leaves here, which you'll probably notice. Let's talk about that. Okay, so this area here is the border of my property, the southern border of my property, and it's bordered by this stream. The stream runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And unfortunately, the whole back hill of this stream is poison ivy, like almost a monoculture of poison ivy. You can see some goldenrod in there, but there's a ton of poison ivy in here. And I've been keeping it at bay by mowing here constantly. It wants to creep out, but it gets mowed and shred right away. So in this area, I do want to have bushes and plants, but I need to be aware that no matter what I do here, the poison ivy is going to creep in and be perfectly happily mulched poison ivy, and then they'll pop up. This is something, a reality that I'm going to deal with in this specific area, and then the new barrier will be here when I mow, and it won't be allowed to come out further. But I need to know that I'm not going to plant anything like strawberries in here. I'm not going to plant anything like a low bush fruit where I have to get right in there and pick. I'm going to probably stick with higher trees, and then if I ever need to get in there and pick, I can lay a tarp down, collect my fruit, and avoid the poison ivy. But this whole bed will probably be a danger zone. But I picked leaves. See, look, some garbage that I didn't find. Isn't this fun? So I picked unshredded leaves for this area because I want it to match. I specifically want oxygen to be starved at the ground level, and I want anything under here to die. I might be able to push back further if I want to get more leaves and try to smother out that hill, but I don't want to kill everything. And poison ivy is somewhat useful. Birds will eat the berries and stuff, and it keeps me out of there. I don't want to just go blanket killing everything and then not do anything with it. But this whole area, I specifically chose larger leaves to smother. My strategy there is to smother and not really do much with it. Like, I'll plant into it, but I'm not going to be in there all the time. I'm mostly trying to smother. Now, contrary to that, this place here, because it's a high value sun area and it's really just a little bit of grass, smothering is not, like, you know, my overriding priority. This will still smother out the grass, but my overall priority here is to actually break down quickly and turn this into good soil to plant trees in. So even though it looks like maybe I have some large leaves in this area, it's because I had extras and I just wanted to kind of get this thicker. But if you kind of look like underneath some of this stuff, you can see that the majority of it was actually chosen to be the shredded leaves. So I have shredded leaves all in this area to try to break down faster, turn this area over quicker into good soil for trees, because I want to plant in this area, especially in the spring. Okay, so let's talk about the ideal way to sheet mulch and using different tools for the job. For this one, I just did a quick and dirty leaf bags and leaves. Ideally shredded leaves. Most of these leaves, I would say probably 75% of them or more, are shredded leaf bags that I got, because I was able to be a little bit picky because there's so many bags everywhere. But the shredded leaves will break down faster, the full leaves will mat and smother better. So both have their strengths and advantages. Now, compared to doing a full cardboard, then compost, then cardboard, then compost, manure, then wood chips on top, sheet mulching strategy that I have in my sheet mulching guide, that's a better strategy if you want to be able to plant in it right away. Because that whole area, you're putting the compost down so that plants can actually be planted in it, you know, right away, the day that you do that sheet mulch. This here, plants planted in this are not going to do very well for the beginning little while, because their roots will be actually starved of oxygen. So even the shredded leaf portions of this stuff is going to mat down quite a bit. In fact, this whole area, it looks like it's maybe 1.5 to 2 feet deep, probably closer on the 2 feet thick. But I'll come back in the spring and show you guys. This will be down to like maybe between 4 and 6 inches. And after a full year, you may not even be able to notice an indentation. It would be very slight. It will really compress down quite a bit. So right now it looks like this big berm, you know, this big wall that isolates off the path. But in the future, it's actually going to be right down to ground level. But it's going to smother. So planting in this right now is not really the best. This method was chosen because it's quick, it's easy, and like, look at the surface area that I've composted and set up. So and this was, you know, within a week, within a couple days really. So this is a way to get a huge area done quickly, and your goal isn't to plant in it right away. Your goal is expansion and to get a large area going, and then you let it sit like this for a long time, ideally even 2 years until you plant into it. So similarly, if you just did a cardboard and then wood chip sheet mulch, and that's all you did, laid down cardboard and put like 2 feet thick of wood chips down, that also similarly would take some time before plants are going to really do well there, especially because wood chips break down so much slower than leaves. That would probably be the even slowest way, but the way that's going to add the most amount of energy, because, you know, the wood chips themselves is dense carbon. It's got tremendous amounts of energy in the carbon bonds that break down over time. The more dense your product is, the harder it's going to be to plant in the first year, but the more total energy you're putting into your system. So if you just did a cardboard and then wood chip sheet mulch, that area, you could try planting into it in the first year, but it's really going to be after like year 2, year 3, year 4 that it really takes off. All right, thanks for watching the update on Old Man Trail. Tomorrow we're going to do a primer, a comprehensive sheet mulching guide, where we go and do a Build-A-Bear approach, kind of teach you the strategies behind different sheet mulching components, and that way you can take whatever your goal is, whatever your strategy is for the project that you're doing, and you can tailor your sheet mulching strategy to your specific project. So I'll see you on the next one.